I've been told of a fisherman named Nick Sakat who was savaged by something in the river, which wasn't a crocodile.
I was walking, I was cutting the grass, then I walk out to cool my body. I was just deep of water. Then I feel something bumping onto my leg. And I was thinking, what's happening? I pulled my leg up, but it was coming again and hit my leg. It's like human beings teeth biting onto my leg and pull my leg down to the water. Then I swim up and struggle. The pain was very big.
And then what you saw, the size of the bite, was also similar to human teeth, was
Yes.
it? So it looks like a person has bitten your foot.
Yes.
What are you thinking is down in the water?
I was thinking that maybe the spirit of the water.
Whatever is down there is not only fast and ferocious, it's also powerful. As evening rolls in, I head back to the village. Word has spread of my investigation, and a fisherman has come to see me. His name, Francis Sambin, is familiar. As he talks, I realise that this is the man the newspapers claim was killed by the bowl cutter. The stories that I heard, he didn't survive the encounter, but I'm very pleased to say that in reality, although this was a pretty terrifying experience by all accounts, he did actually live to tell the tale. Although the rumours of Sambin's death were exaggerated, the attack did leave him hospitalised and in agony. The fish was large and incredibly powerful. The bite was not a clean cut like a piranha's, but tore and ripped his flesh, and he struggled to fight it off. This echoes the story told to me by Nick Sakat.
I pulled my leg up, but it was coming again and pulled my leg down to the water.
This giant relative of the piranha is, as I thought, growing to quite a size, and with teeth to match. So we ask around in some of the smaller neighbouring communities to see if anyone knows anything about monster rays. It's quickly apparent that people in this area are living with a terror in their midst. I just asked this man here if he knows anybody who's been hit by rays here. He said, yes, my son. And it got him in the ankle, very visible scar he's got there. His father said he almost lost the foot. ¿Tiene otras personas aquí que fue picada? Just like the rays, the stories keep on coming.
Ahí estaba como 3 meses ahí en la casa. No podía caminar, no podía trabajar, nada.
Yo estaba ahí con el dolor ahí queriendo morirme, queriendo llorar, ¿no?
I've seen many injuries, but for some victims like Dahlia, the initial wound is just the start of the nightmare. Water's only about thigh deep. She's literally feet from the bank, and that was when she stepped on it. Now, in this particular case, what really stands out was she said that she got this infection that was really, really persistent. Relatively small stingray injuries can quickly turn into aggressive infections. This is down to the necrotic venom covering the spine and the ray's entire body. Once stabbed into human flesh, this venom starts to break down tissue. The result can be high fever, heart palpitations, hallucinations, and even death. Luckily, though, in the end, they managed to get the infection under control, and she's now recovered. A pretty horrendous experience, but it could have been a lot worse. It doesn't take me long to come across a witness to another brutal attack.
Yeah, me and Joel went catching shrimps in the night. Well, he jumped fan out the water and hit him with the bill across here.
This tarpon comes out of the water, the head hit the face. So was he then, no, he's standing in the boat?
No, he's sitting down this kind of way.
Yeah.
Spanish, you know. Any party hit you, damage you then, you're gonna kill you, man. This fish grew big, you know. This fish grew up to 500 pounds, 600 pounds. The fish grew where you can't hold him with no kind of rod line, man.
So on the line, even strong line?
You can't hold him, man.
He's saying 500-600 pounds. I mean, that's seriously large. I mean, I'd be amazed if they do really grow that big, but I mean, who knows? 500 pounds is double the size of the biggest tarpon ever caught in Florida. But the stories keep coming. Daham and another man, they went fishing, and each one reinforces their deadly potential. But when he put his paddle in the water, he touched a fish. They seem to jump at the slightest provocation. He said if his friend wasn't with him that day, he probably would have died. And when hooked, they put up a violent fight. They just told me about someone had his head split open, he's got a scar across his forehead.
To feed this skull.
But if your friend hadn't been there, what?
I would be a dead man.
You think?
Time he get manish.
They said this fish, manish, crazy, this is a crazy fish. This is a dangerous fish. Tarpon are well-documented game fish, but these violent testimonies are unlike any I've heard before. I need to catch one for myself to see if these Nicaraguan fish are somehow different. I'm not having much luck catching an electric eel. It's proving far harder to find than I expected. But I've gotten word of another attack, and I'm heading out to investigate. It happened in 2007 on a farm near Villanova, where a 21-year-old farm worker called Francisco died in a small pond. I've travelled there to meet up with his friend Fernando, the only witness to Francisco's last moments.
Saiu ele em casa. Eu tava só com uns 15 dias que tinha chegado lá, que tinha conhecido ele.
Francisco had only been working at the farm for 2 weeks when he decided to go fishing in a nearby pond.
Vamos, bora entrar? Perigoso aí. Não vou entrar não. Tu entra aí.
Fernando warned him about the electric eels he'd seen there, but Francisco carried on anyway. They were fishing with a sort of basket. You go in the water and you run this along the bottom of the pond, and then you see if you've got any fish in the basket.
Água assim, o corpo dele tava todo fora. Ele tava com isso assim dentro da água.
And he said, you know, they tried a couple of times, hadn't caught anything. Fernando was staying on the bank. He didn't want to get in the water. On the third scoop of the basket, Francisco disappeared. And so what he did, he ran for help, came back with 2 other people, and when they got there, there was no sign of anybody, no sign of Francisco. They started searching for his body by dragging a wooden hoe through the water.
O corpo do porco era...
Tava enrolado nele.
Eventually, Francisco's body rose to the surface, with a macabre addition.
Levou choque na mão também. Depois...
The body of the eel was wrapped round the boy's body. Only when it was pulled right into the shallows did it actually then disappear back into the water. Now, Fernando's saying that, like me, you know, he'd heard stories that this is a fish that's capable of killing people, but he didn't really believe that, hadn't heard anything very definite. So when he saw what actually did happen, he said he almost didn't believe it. I've never heard of a situation of someone being killed by a fish in such a small volume of water. But the other thing that really struck me was that, unlike the case of the 3 cowboys who were killed, I mean, here there was absolutely no doubt what animal was responsible. There was a 100% positive ID. You know, this was an electric eel that killed Francisco. Finally, clear evidence of an electric eel causing a human death. What I don't know, though, is whether victims drown after being shocked or die from electrocution. And now I've received word there's an attack victim in a nearby village. Could this be the clue I need? Ramzan Tero was attacked while paddling his canoe. But his attacker wasn't a fish. It was a 20-foot crocodile. So what happened was that Ramzan was collecting palm fronds for roofing his house. And the first thing he knows is that a crocodile has actually come from underneath. He didn't see the body of the croc at all, but just came along and just crunched one end of the boat. The size of the crocodile's jaws were more or less the length of his arm. He said he could have actually put his arm right down its throat. That was the size of it. He climbed the tree at this point, and the crocodile then pulled the canoe away. At this point, he actually starts praying. He realizes this, this could be potentially a fatal situation. But then what happens is the crocodile realizes that the boat isn't edible, or for some reason leaves it alone, drifts off to one side, and at that point he's thinking, well, how do I get out of this? Ramzan sat it out in the tree until the croc eventually lost interest. Actually, he was able to very carefully reach the canoe with his spear, which is floating in the water. So he was able to escape on the broken boat. He was lucky. Over the years, dozens of people have been killed by crocodiles in the SEPIK River. This skin came from a 20-foot monster said to have learned to flip over canoes. SEPIK River crocodiles certainly have a history of killing. But are they the ball cutter I'm looking for? I ask if there's anything that fits the description of a toothy pack hunter, and they tell me to find an English-speaking fisherman named Clifford who was attacked by a fish.
The fish wriggled. I tried to grab the fish, but I hit it in the teeth with my hand, and it closed up.
And is this the mark here?
Yes.
Wow.
I had 14 stitches. My thumb is no longer functioning.
So what is the name of this fish that bit you?
Ngwesh.
Ngwesh. And this is the thing with fish names, and the reason we have scientific names is that everybody knows what everybody's talking about. This is not a name I've heard before. It's clearly a predator. It's toothy. I'm actually quite used to seeing piranha bites on fishermen in the Amazon, and you're normally talking there something small, something maybe at the most an inch across. This is, we're talking 2.5, 3 inches across, and it's got a sort of almost a sort of a triangular profile, but to inflict a wound like that, it's got to have very, very sharp teeth. And this was a couple of years ago, and it's just left a permanent scar. Can you describe the fish that did this? What does it look like? What's the mouth like? What is the body like?
It's a long fish with sharp teeth and with stripes. The teeth, they are closed.
They interlock. Are there a lot of them in the water here? Is it something you see very much?
During the month of January, February, the water is clear. You see schools of them, lots of them.
So the pictures that it's emerging is not a solitary hunter. This is something that lives in packs. Clifford described the way the teeth work, they interlock. That's quite piranha-like. The fact that they're in packs, that's also quite piranha-like, but this is the wrong continent, and to my knowledge there's nothing piranha-like in Africa, but this actually sounds something very similar, but possibly something even more dramatic, because the fish are bigger. The individuals can inflict more vicious wounds. I head back to the village. I need some more local knowledge if I'm going to get to the bottom of this mystery.
Can you just tell me how much?
People tell me the ungwesh is difficult and dangerous to catch. But once again, it's the large, visible predators they talk about most. And when you see injuries like these, you can understand why. Can you tell me what it was that happened to you? So these are injuries caused by crocodiles. Both mother and daughter were in the water collecting water lily bulbs. A crocodile under the water, unseen, grabbed the daughter's left hand. Daughter obviously cries out. Mother comes to help and actually attacked the crocodile with the sickle. The crocodile let go of the daughter, went away just a few yards, but then came back and grabbed daughter's other arm, broke that, and then went after the mother and grabbed one of her arms. The crocodile actually had the mother's arm. Was feeding on this, and then the mother was able to, with her remaining arm, gather her daughter and take her where they were safe. I have to say that hearing how dangerous crocodiles are is one thing, but actually seeing the evidence really underlines for me just how potentially dangerous these waters are. I've been drawn back by a chilling story about the death of a group of cowboys. I've heard of a river monster taking an individual before, but never 3 people at once. This is a new killer for me. I meet the witness, Reginaldo, at a nearby farm instead. He tells me that it happened during the wet season, when the pastures were flooded. A mule had become stuck in the water. Reginaldo and 5 other cowboys tried to rescue it. What they had to do was actually sort of go in and just try and pull the animal out. The first 3 cowboys went into the water. Reginaldo and the others hung back. As the first horses got up to their bellies, something startled them. All 3 cowboys were thrown into the water. The others immediately got out before it was too late. No, I just asked why he didn't just jump straight in to try and help them, and he said something told me there was something in the water, it wasn't safe. Didn't want to be number 4, the 4th victim. People who fell in the water actually disappeared, and we're talking water that was, it sounds like 3 or 4 feet deep.
Hoje eu não esqueço, quando eu falo isso, eu fico assim até meio emocionado, não gosto nem de estar, sabe?
No, I asked him what that leaves him feeling like. This was 6 years ago that it happened, and he said it's left this sort of a lingering sadness from having lost his colleagues. Reginaldo's story helps me eliminate some potential suspects. Piranhas can definitely be taken off the list. When piranhas attack, it's an unmistakable feeding frenzy, with the water looking as though it's boiling. But Reginaldo saw only a calm surface. Also, from Reginaldo's account, stingrays can be struck off the list. If the cowboys had been fatally stabbed by rays, there would have been huge amounts of blood in the water, which he didn't see. Reginaldo has his own theory about the killer's identity. He's given me the name of a terrifying new suspect for the cowboy killer, a creature I've heard about but never encountered. The electric eel.
No, he says, although he didn't actually see anything, I mean, he is pretty certain that, you know, this was electric eels that caused these 3 men to die.
I have a prime suspect. A monster said to have mythical powers. And one I always feared I might encounter. Now I have to try to catch one. Known locally as porake, the electric eel isn't actually an eel at all. It's a member of the knifefish family. They can be found throughout the Amazon and Orinoco river basins. They can grow to over 8 feet long and deliver a charge that's enough to light up a house. But is this enough to shock a human being to death? I have to meet the victim in the story, the man who was attacked by this mystery fish. I've arranged to meet him where the attack happened, at the dam 2 hours out of the capital, Paramaribo. The dam was built on the Suriname River and completed in 1964, creating one of the largest man-made lakes in the world, called Brokopondo, on the banks of which I meet Maurice Gantz, a local man of Dutch descent.
What was your job on the dam at the time?
We're asked to dive to see the erosion from the downstream for big holes underneath. We pour in cement in big, large bags. So we go underneath there, start up the engine on top. The water becomes like mist. You cannot see anymore. Suddenly I saw something blinking. So I grab my knife and then he hits me. So fast, I blew out my hand. I don't know if the knife hits him. Then I start feeling and seeing the blood flowing. I realized I was bitten and very deep.
This was definitely not a piranha attack. They rush in snatching quick, savage bites. They don't cling onto their victims like a dog with a bone. Morris's mutilated hand needed over 100 stitches, and even though it was 20 years ago, he still very much bears the scars.
Is this the scar here?
Yes, this is the scar from here to here, over this small finger, cuts here, and those are the tooths from the top.
It's hard to believe there's a freshwater fish that would launch a solo attack on a diver.
Did you know what fish it was?
It's an Anyumara.
Anyumara, also known as the wolffish, so called for its wolf-like teeth. These fish can grow to nearly 4.5 feet and weigh 80 pounds. They are serious predators. But I had until now never heard of one ever attacking a person. I wonder if Morris ever had any other kind of close encounter while he was diving.
The only thing that we saw close behind us were piranhas.
Did that make you slightly nervous?
Not really, not really. But every time you do like this or you make a sudden move, they disappear.
They never came and took a nip out of any...
No.
So Morris often saw piranhas, but they never ever came close. Unlike this lone wolf. This fish attacked, and if Morris hadn't had his knife, who knows what could have happened. His name is Fritz van der Bosch. He shows me his old wolffish gear.
This is the reel that I get the most big Anyumara.
So this is very strong line.
It may be outdated, but it's an impressive rig. And as we settle down to chat, he tells me of his own strange experience of being attacked by a wolffish.
A tree was falling over the creek and walk on the tree. And you might jumping to take my foot.
Yes. So your leg was out of the water?
The way you talk, I see you don't believe it, but it's danger, I tell you that. If the Anyumara hungry, it's dangerous.
This story really puts the wolffish into a different league. I have never heard of a fish trying to attack someone on land before. And there's another, more chilling story.
I go tell you something. An Indian woman was going to wash on the creek. I had a little dog. I mean, you want to jump. They didn't take the dog. Turn back in the water and go with the dog.
Reptilian monsters like anacondas and gators are known to snatch dogs from the water's edge. But a fish, now I'm even more determined to find a wolffish. To find out what I could be up against, I meet Bobby Sparks, a noodling veteran, with a cautionary catfish tail, which does little to settle my nerves.
And we were going along, two buddies of mine, and they were quite a ways in front of me, and I stumbled over this hole. And I thought, hey man, this is a good one. I started into this hole. I got kind of about half the way down in it, and he come up and hit me real hard. So this fish was possibly breaking 100 pounds. He come up completely over my army boot, size 12, all the way up to nearly my knee.
The fish had the bottom half of Bobby's leg in its mouth and wouldn't let go.
And he clamped down. He started shaking and spinning. I didn't know where I was, up or down. I was almost to the top. Couldn't get my nose above the water. And he was pulling me down. He was gonna pull my leg completely off. That last pull, because he was pulling me down in, when my friends finally got to me and caught me and pulled me out. And I didn't know if I'd had the strength to fight back enough to get out of that hole.
If your friends hadn't been with you on that day, what do you think would or could have happened?
I think that he would have held me there and drowned me. I really feel that I would have ate supper with Jesus that night. There's so much power, there's so much strength. That's their domain. And I have a full respect for them in their home.
If a fish is responsible for unexplained drownings here, then it would have to be both strong enough to survive the rapids and big enough to pull in a man. Yet somehow it has remained hidden from sight. To this day, a fisherman called Jaconia is still unsure how his brother disappeared. 2 years ago, they set out in opposite directions to fish the gorge, planning to meet up later at their camp. Only Jaconia returned. When you came back to the camp, your brother didn't come.
I was going to look for him. So I found the shoes and his trousers.
So shoes and trousers, and that was all.
And the line.
Oh, you found the line?
Inside the hole.
And the line was okay.
So I take mine and throw it to that line.
Right.
Take it out. So that is the thing they showed me. This guy they call with water.
Did you get the hook back?
And I take the line out. No hook.
The absence of a hook makes me suspicious. Hooks don't just fall off. Perhaps something ripped it off the line. Further downstream, a croc would be the prime candidate, but they avoid rapids. So I asked Jaconia if there are any big fish in the river. How big do they grow? And he says there are.
So this... Some of it is like me.
Same size as you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big like this.
That's the body?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long to get a big one? How long to bring?
To bring it is almost 1 hour, 30 minutes.
1 hour, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Human beings are out of their element in water. From my own experiments, I've shown that even a fish a third of my weight could drag me under. The beast Jaconia is describing easily outstrips that. Many languages are spoken in these former British territories, but Jaconia can't give me the fish's English name. Yeah. So this big fish, what does it look like?
It looks like a snake.
My first real clue. A snake-like fish that grows to the size of a man. But where is it hiding? The next morning, I get a visit from a local guide. He's been told I'm here and has a story that suggests I'm not being careful enough.
Yeah. Oh, just camping on the Pentecost River, and just decided to come out and attack us in the second night.
Dan Duncan and his girlfriend Sonia were on a fishing trip in the outback. Aware of the danger from crocodiles, they too pitched their tent well away from the water. But on this night, distance was no protection.
And was there all night, obviously, to about 3 o'clock until he decided to do something.
Somehow Dan's girlfriend managed to avoid the crocodile's jaws and escape, leaving Dan tangled in the tent and fighting for his life.
My arm was stuck with him and I was going over and he was slowly dragging me back towards the river. Luckily at the last minute he started to roll the other way and I unrolled my arm and I got out and he just slid into the river. People say you can stick your fingers in their eyes and stuff. It doesn't really work, you know. They pretty much, if a croc's got you and he's dedicated, and I don't think you're going to get away. Especially in that river. If he had to pull me down there, that's it.
To stay safe out here, I'm going to need eyes in the back of my head. Dawn Shawman was nearly killed by a 10-foot bull shark off Melbourne Beach in 1993. I'm hoping that her first-hand account will give me a deeper insight into bull shark behaviour.
And I was probably about 25 to 50 yards out past the waves, maybe in 15 feet of water. And I just felt something slam into it. I felt this burning in my hand and a burning in my leg. The whole water around me just started filling with blood.
Dawn wasn't just worried about her own life. She was 6.5 months pregnant at the time.
And I did start panicking, and I think I remember just like calling out for my mom and just being really worried, like I needed help. And then no one was there but me, so I just relied on me, and that's the point where I gathered myself together.
She struggled back to shore as fast as she could. Dawn was rushed to the hospital, where she underwent surgery to repair life-threatening wounds. Just her leg needed 85 stitches. 2.5 months later, she gave birth to a boy. He's now 18.
And he was born healthy, and we named him McIntyre Shark Shaman.
This near-death experience has given Dawn an expert understanding of what could have led to the bull shark attacking her.
You can make your odds go up by doing something like what I did, swimming during cloudy, murky water, bait fish season. If you swim in the early morning or late in the afternoon, evening, that's when the bait fish are coming through. You know, if you see a lot of fish jumping out of the water, you shouldn't be in there because something bigger is chasing them.